What is going on, everyone? Badger here. Make sure to like and sub, and let's get into this. We got Gary himself, the radicalizer himself. He radicalized me. Him and Nerd Wars. It's their fault. Blame them. But here we are, still going to do a reaction. Probably not to this whole video because it's 19 minutes long, and a real reaction would mean it would be a 40-minute long video, and ain't nobody got time for that. But I'm going to react to the first part. No matter what, make sure you go over to Gary's channel. You know how we do. I have no problem watching a full Gary video, then watching Tyrone react to a full video, and then doing a reaction myself. It's that good. We all come at it from different angles. Let's see if we can't tease out a little bit more truth, because remember, Gary's entertaining, so he can't hit every single point. And also, this is hot on the heels of just doing a story that we released this morning covering Film Threat, and that yet another article they got from the WGA detailing. And I'm sure Gary's going to cover it, so let's get into it.
I have to be honest, I was not very steeped in the comics.
I didn't read any comics or do any research.
I wasn't familiar with comics. I wasn't familiar with the movies.
We didn't lean into a whole lot of the history of the comic books.
Yeah, candidly, we were not enormous.
They're told not to, by the way.
I wasn't super into superhero comics when I was a kid. I read a lot of like indie.
Told it's a good idea.
First thing I was told is don't read the comics.
Really? As a creator, they put you in a bubble. They don't let you talk about any of the other projects, right?
You know, they're up for anything.
We ultimately decided to redefine it for the series and thought that it worked better for the story that we're trying to tell.
Did you ever read you've never read the cover?
Yeah.
When the DVD comes out, I'm going to read a Thor comic book and just see where we went wrong.
One of these days.
You're a
Willfully destroyed our ship. Ruin your mythos in a second.
After Woke Hollywood had its worst year in 2023, it's staring down the barrel of a grim 2024. I know you just hate to see it. And that's largely due to the Writers Guild of America and the Film Actors Guild going on the worst time strike in history.
Yeah, listen. We f***ed up.
And the great Hollywood purge that they brought on is well underway. Just to name a few, recently there's been layoffs at Pixar, NBC Universal, the trillion-dollar company Amazon with Amazon Studios, and just announced today there'll be layoffs at Paramount. And this is only the beginning.
All deserved, and they went from about 600 productions last year to about 300 productions this year. So I hope it was worth it.
The streaming bubble has burst, and the clear winner is the very same company the Film Actors Guild and the Writers Guild of America were calling the devil.
Netflix.
Fix. What the hell is the fix?
But while the strike and 1,000 other paper cuts help hasten the demise of woke Hollywood, it's not the main reason. So join me, you over 960,000 awakening wonders, and
gonna get them.
Who haven't
Gonna beat
subscribed
Dan
yet.
Bask.
And let's talk about why Hollywood is failing. The devil's in the DEI. Sure, you've heard me and many others call out diversity, equity, and inclusion quite a bit, but who we haven't heard from a lot is any members from the Film Actors Guild or the WGA.
The ones
who
who matter.
Solely due to the fact that in the fun and games entertainment business, they live in fear of losing the few gigs they have left, and this may shock you, they live in fear of their own union. But it's one thing to call out woke Hollywood in the safety of my spare bedroom in Texas, surrounded by my plastic pals, and it's another thing to hear it from people who actually work in the industry. It's no surprise that after the year of the flopbuster major layoffs and a devastating strike, people in the industry are starting to get really worried. Because it turns out not every member of the WGA is really happy with what's going on, especially since...
And you fuckers are to blame because you stayed silent until they came for you. Does that sound familiar? They came for this and I stayed silent. They came for this. Now you're starting to talk, now that you're not getting jobs.
The strike ended with new rules being implemented. If you thought the new Oscar rules were bad, wait till you hear this. My good friends Chris Gore and Alan Ng at Film Threat have recently been flooded with emails from people who want to remain anonymous, who aren't exactly staunch conservatives, who I have seen worked on a lot of legit TV shows and won a lot of awards between them, are calling out the woke.
There's the message that Drinker always talks about. That's what it is. That's what they're pushing. And I just a special highlight to Film Threat, Chris Gore and Alan Ng. We've covered a couple of their articles. They are doing 100% actual factual journalism right now, because the mainstream media that should be talking about this, oh, are they quiet?
Garbage.
Better late than never.
Why reach out to Film Threat? Well, because they have to. It's not like they can reach out to Deadline, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, or Rolling Stone, who are all owned by the same company and in the pockets of the corporate studios. So let's do something different and hear from them. Again, these are members of the Writers Guild of America, along with other industry people with years of experience. I don't know, maybe reality hit for some of the WGA members when they were given this WGA Perspective Writers Search Form.
Oh boy, here we go.
Screenshots were provided from yet another anonymous WGA member of the WGA Perspective Writer Form, asking very personal questions like sexual identity. Are you heterosexual, asexual, bisexual, pansexual, gay, lesbian, queer, or unspecified? But there's more. How about gender identity? Female, transgender, male, non-binary, trans feminine, trans masculine, unspecified. Wouldn't that be non-binary?
This is all very confusing.
Then there's
and they're going to use this as a checklist, not to help these struggling groups, quote unquote, but to check off, can you write about this? Oh, you aren't any of these? No, you cannot. You're fired or you're not hired.
Disability, autoimmune condition or chronic illness, blind or low vision, I'd qualify for that. Cognitive disorder, I definitely qualify for that. Deaf or hard of hearing, dwarfism, limb difference, mental disorder, well, all of Hollywood would qualify for that. Mobility disability, neurodiverse, physical disfigurement, unspecified. Then there's a full ethnicity breakdown, and listen, I can say
no one can ever write Phantom of the Opera again unless they have a physical, like, face dismemberment.
Everyone a lot of time, money, and pixels on this form. All it needs to ask is, are you white? Yes or no?
You are white.
Hey, that's what school's like now.
You are white. You white. He's white.
My nephew.
You know what they're not concerned with?
Elementary school. That's what they do to him.
POTs, people of talent. This WGA writer also adds, this may not be obvious at first glance. There sure seem to be a lot of white dudes at the Golden Globes, right? Well, this doesn't impact the top 2% of writers, showrunners, and directors, since they're in rarefied air when they get work no matter what. It's those of us with decades of experience working on your favorite TV shows and films that are now sitting on the sidelines waiting.
So if you're wondering why all of a sudden 90% of the TV shows became absolute, complete, utter shit filled with agenda and messaging, this is it. This is why.
No institute reinforces this more than the WGA. One glance at their monthly calendar of events shows a Latinx Writers Committee meeting, an LGBTQ plus Writers Committee meeting, a Committee of Black Writers meeting, a Middle Eastern Writers Committee meeting, a Women's Writers Committee meeting, and an Asian American Writers Committee meeting, to name just a few. This anonymous WGA member was so worried, they said, and I quote, "My email isn't real as I don't want to accidentally give up an IP address and end up on some modern blacklist." I have a few stories that illustrate the hostility to non-diverse writers that may be of interest. Tell me if you haven't heard this one before, by the way. Writers hired on comic book shows are told it's a positive that they are unfamiliar with the original comic book and are not a fan of the existing IP because they want to do a, quote, modern new take on the material relevant to today.
I feel like what we did well was, through the symbolism, harness the conversations that are happening in this country right now.
I said, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
And gave ourselves a way to dramatize them. I'm gonna be real. We damn near had scenes in this thing with the Capitol attack.
And how many times has that worked with existing IPs over the last 7 or 8 years? I'll give you the answer. None. Writers are asked,
stop fucking
Clarendayers.
A, why this story today? How is it relevant politically today to the existing narrative they're pushing on our culture? And B, why are you the person to tell it? Because I have talent and I wrote it, is not a valid answer. What is a valid answer? Because I'm a member of this aggrieved group or class, and only we can tell our own story. With the obvious exception of all European lore, mythology, American history, European history, and Lord of the Rings. Then there's a bias towards the 2 for or the 3 for hire. What the hell does that mean?
Echo.
He or she explains. Being gay, for example, isn't enough now. You have to be gay, African American, Latinx, undocumented, unhoused, differently abled. Then on the DEI scorecard, they have a 2 times or 3 times positive score for hire.
This sounds very gay.
You get a bonus.
It's rich that the WGA and the Film Actors Guild are the ones out there complaining the most about the corporatism in Hollywood, something that I generally agree with, except for the fact that the unions are pulling the same shit. And apparently there's been a saying going on for quite some time in Hollywood that stems from all the woke universities that parents waste their money on. The mantra is male and pale is stale. Out with the old order.
We probably should have listened to Jordan Peterson and Eric Weinstein, sorry, when they were screaming at the top of their lungs that the universities had been corrupted. And look at the results.
And in with the new. Anyone who questions this new orthodoxy will, of course, be denounced as not promoting a diverse workspace or worse, racist, from an anonymous member of the Writers Guild of America. You're so right about the fear running this town, but this is the first time when I've been afraid to say anything about how DEI is being weaponized. I've been a liberal progressive my entire life, and a few of the Emmy-nominated shows I've worked on actively advance the causes being fought for. But now it's like I'm no longer wanted at the table because you're not, solely because of my age, gender, and skin color.
That is correct, because they are the actual true racists. This is not equality or even equity. It is revenge. It is what Ibram X. Kennedy talks about, that the only, and this is his words, that the only path to get away from past discrimination is fucking current and future discrimination. It's that they want revenge. This is it.
Color. Shutting anyone out for any of those reasons doesn't feel like DEI, but more like its opposite.
Always be wary of any name that sounds like it could come out of a George Orwell book. That's never a good sign, because it sounds like, sure, diversity, equity, inclusion, these all sound like nice words, but what it really means is discrimination on the basis of race, sex, and sexual orientation, and it's against merit.
Well, if
the last thing they want is merit.
E in the DEI was equality, that's what it would be. But instead, they replaced that word with equity.
No offense, but it sounds like some commie gobbledygook.
They're not looking for equality or even equity. What they're looking to do is fight discrimination with discrimination.
You can't be racist towards white people, Stan. They all honky bitches.
Thank you, black female Cartman. I sit corrected. I love it when I see diversity done right, not the forced or self-conscious way we're
Fucking
getting it on shows like
world.
Bridgerton that erase actual history and pretend black
Clown
people were
world.
always members of the Royal Society.
And this is the biggest thing. If you're black, how the fuck does this not make you sick to your stomach? What a parody. What a fucking parody. I don't know how you guys aren't the most upset about this type of shit.
We've gone from the rich diversity of the Abbey to a terribly white balcony. I'm very struck by that.
The anonymous WGA writer says, I worked in rooms with very few minorities or women in them for at least half of my career. And that was fucked up. But now it's starting to feel like a new paradigm isn't about equality or equity, because it isn't. It's about a complete reversal of the power dynamic. But
it is a fucking revenge fantasy being played out. And they've got guilty white people agreeing with it. That's the thing. Do you remember during the George Floyd Summer of Love when white people were literally on their hands and knees washing the feet of black people at these fucking marches? I do. I remember the footage. Search on YouTube.
A few years ago, writers' rooms were getting more diverse every year I've been working in them, along with the rest of entertainment. Only now they're getting less diverse. And I think storytelling is suffering because of it. And in closing, he or she says, Norman Lear used to have Republican conservative writing in his rooms. Nowadays, that would be impossible.
I find that the umbilical, that the many umbilicals that connect my friends on the right, you referred to me as a liberal at the beginning. I shy from the word. I don't like the label, any kind of label. But right or left, I find that there are so many umbilicals that connect us that are so much stronger and so more numerous.
Yeah, it's correct. There are crazy. Anytime I say the left, I'm meaning the extremely far insane ones that want to trans your kids and make everything gay. Nothing wrong with gay people, nothing wrong with trans people. But when you put it on everything, it is a filter that they have in them. Most people are in the middle, a little bit left, a little bit right. They just want to be left alone and have a good, nice, peaceful life for their family and their friends. all that, but that's why this divisive identity politics, that's why they do it, right? So that we're all angry and fighting over this instead of paying attention to what they are actually doing.
Then the things that disconnect us, I'd like to see a little more stress on the former.
Let's go over a couple of more briefly from yet another anonymous WGA member who, quite frankly, I can't say specifically, worked on some pretty legit shows and some not so legit shows. I was having a pretty great career with a few jobs on shows I'd rather not remember. That was right up until this DEI stuff took over. And then I stopped getting asked to join rooms run by white showrunners. They stopped being able to hire more than one or two other writers that looked like them.
When you try to move from where we are towards something which looks more nearly like equality, there are people who are doing quite nicely now who feel like something is being taken away from them.
In recent years, I know I lost gigs on shows that I would have been
because something's being taken away from. We've proven this is not more seats at the table, it's less.
Great for shows where the showrunner wanted me, but where the corporate bosses nixed my hiring. And if you're wondering why all of these people are anonymous, every single one of them, well, here's the explanation again. But we're not allowed to say anything to anyone about any of this because of our gender and skin color. We no longer check the right boxes. It's like we're supposed to just shut up and go away. But I have a family to feed, and I'm really good at my job.
It's not like you are supposed to shut up and go away. That's what they want you to do. Shut up and go sit down, white man. You had your time.
If any of this got out there, it could very easily end any hope I have of continuing to work in this business. But why do you want to work in this business? It sounds awful, and you say it yourself. But this gig has been devalued and demonetized, and streamers don't care. No, they don't. If they have to hire a new young staff every season, it's cheaper that way, and that's your secret of diversity. It's cheaper. Now, there's a lot more to this, and there will be a lot more coming out at filmthreat.com, so go check it out.
And we will be covering it all, because I know not everyone is going to go there and read a bunch of articles, so come to the channel, and we will be covering all of them. It is insane if you haven't been paying attention to some of the letters they've been getting.
We'll end it with this one. Attached are the screen grabs from some of the various emails I received regarding self-identification surveys and member census. And the real kicker, Jedi training. You heard me right. From an illustrator at the Art Directors Guild, the ADG was sending these surveys out at an extremely aggressive level last year. There was also something they called Jedi training. Justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. You gotta be f***ing kidding me. IATSE, the International Alliance of Theater and Stage Employees.
Boy, that sounds oddly close to what they are.
Ran a similar census that they said was voluntary, but was aggressive in members insisting they participate. Here's the deal, and forgive me for stating the obvious. Any job you're at where you don't feel you can speak your mind cordially or say basic stuff to your coworker or your boss is, and I'll use your language, the very definition of a toxic work environment. This doesn't help tell authentic stories. It's antithetical to that. It doesn't breathe.
No, and we just talked about this with Sokka in the last Avatar when we're hearing that they removed him being sexist. And who cares? Because it's a huge part of his character, and it leads to actual acting and character growth. But it's dumbed down. It's exactly what he's talking about here. Dumbed down storytelling for these people.
Creativity, it spawns division. Listen, any ideology that cannot build anything on its own, it's based in subversion, requires its practitioners to be deceptive or disingenuous, or worse, lie, cheat, and steal, and then instill fear in anyone who wants to call it out, isn't a good ideology. Yet the cancer that is identity politics is pushed equally by the corpos, the unions, and the access media. And it's pushing away the thing that Hollywood just completely forgot it needed: customers.
And the real thing to go on here is, like he said, before we go on, rather, this is all coming from the top. Yeah, there's definitely some evil, but the rest and the majority are people just either think they're doing good and they're actually doing evil, or they're afraid. They're afraid. And now I think they've waited too far. They waited too long, but that's it. They're just going along with this bullshit because they're afraid, not because they actually believe in it.
Ticket sales, meaning actual tickets sold, are down almost 40%. and the entire establishment.
And yeah, fuck it. We're going to finish it. If you're still, most of you already left, but if you're still here, wherever you are, probably Creativity's Vanguard and Tech Rat. But if you guys are still here, let's just finish it. Cause this is everything. This is what we talk about in the channel. This is the reason for all the bullshit. This is the actual cancer. We've been making videos about symptoms. This is the cancer right here. This is what's causing everything.
Hollywood ecosystem is falling apart with the aforementioned year of the flopbuster, massive layoffs, and layoffs in digital media. Don't believe me? From Bloomberg. 2024 Hollywood predictions consolidate or crumble. After a quiet year for deals, media industry experts predict major companies will merge or shut down their streaming services. Then there's the poor theaters that woke Hollywood abandoned
Merging would be
again.
horrible, by the
This
way.
might help paint the picture from David Poland's The Hot Button Substack. Here is a list of what 2023 looks like versus 2024 based on the wide releases 8 months on this list, meaning it only goes up to August. 6 different studios with the top release. That may be the most hopeful part. January 2023, there were 7 new wide releases. In 2024, there's going to be 6. February 2023, there were 10 wide releases. In February 2024, there's going to be 6. In March 2023, there were 10 new wide releases. In March 2024, there's going to be 5. April 2023, there were 14 wide releases. In April 2024, there's going to be 4. May 2023, there were 10 new wide releases. In May 2024, there's going to be 6. June 2023, the summer
movie theater owners right now are swinging from the rafters.
Movie season, 9 new wide releases. June 2024, 5. The heart of the summer movie season, July of 2023, had 8 new wide releases. In July of 2024, there's only going to be 4. And in August, the dog days of summer 2023, 9 new wide releases. And in August 2024, there's only going to be 6. And of those 2024 wide releases, only 4 films aren't some sort of a prequel or a sequel. To put this in perspective, in 2019 alone, Hollywood had $9 billion films. From 2020 to 2023, they've had 6. Now, I'm not celebrating anyone losing their jobs outside of the woke activists and all of entertainment.
Oh, I'm glad he fucking qualified it because I'm super celebrating. If you were a part of this, I'm so fucking happy you were fired. You never should have been there. This is just the great correction.
And the Access Media, and hell, let's throw in the LA Times because they all played their part. What was the woke Hollywood saying for cancel culture? Oh, that's right, consequence culture.
In terms of cancel culture, I think it's misnamed. That's a misnomer. I think we have a consequence culture, and that consequences are finally encompassing everybody in the society, whereas they haven't been ever in this country. So I think that there are good signs that are happening in the culture right now, and I think it has everything to do with the new awareness of people who were simply unaware of the real nature of life in this country for people who have been othered since this nation began.
You are looking at your great-great-grandfather, James Henry Dixon. So you have an ancestor who served with the Confederacy.
It's very good.
Oh no! What happened? Oh no! How terrible! That's just awful. How terrible! Oh no!
Are you kidding me? That's true.
I'd have fought you 5 minutes ago if you told me that I had a white great-great-grandfather.
Because you're
You
racist.
can fight me, but it's the truth. And ain't nothing you can do about it.
The Flopbusters, the worst time strike in history, the streaming bubble bursting, and all the layoffs stem from the previous years of political divisiveness, and now we're heading into the mother of all divisive political years. And I highly doubt the adult pretenders and the people who help adults pretend are going to be able to keep their mouths shut. We are well past the around portion of this story and well into...
Gary has said it, 2023 was the year of fuck around, and 2024 is the year of find out.
The find out final act. And as woke Hollywood enters the long, dark power lunch of the soul, they better think about one thing. Do they want to survive? And if you do, There's one simple term that you just need to internalize. Shut up and entertain. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.
Look, Gary is just one man. Very talented, but he is just one man. He can't do it by himself. He can't do it by himself. He needs an army. He needs an army, big one. We can't call it Gary's army because a little on the nose for Dumbledore, but we can call it the Fellowship. We can call it the Fellowship, and we can direct. We could direct our energies and our voices, and we could tell them, hey, we don't want this anymore. We don't want this anymore. So if you can, make a channel. Make a channel. If this bothers you as much as it bothers us, make a channel. Start talking about it. Either way.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
Thank you very much, everyone. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to go over to Gary's channel and sub if you weren't, although I don't know why you stayed this long if you weren't. Thank you for everything. And, well.
Bye.